A big thank you to our media as well. And I think we're going to go straight over to catch up with Elise Anderson, one of the most exciting rising stars in the promotion. Elise, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. So we saw you last put in a really good performance in your debut against Izuki Hirata. Unfortunately, it didn't go your way, but what lessons did you take away from that? What have you been working on?
Well, obviously, I didn't stop the takedowns like the initial plan, especially against the cage. And I also think I didn't let my hands go, and I did in the third round. So that could be like the big layoff, from and my first time fighting under one, being nervous under the big lights and the time change with the COVID restrictions. But I'm hoping this fight to get it going how the third round went in my last fight, just starting out from the gate like that.
Can you tell us a little bit about gangster mode? What do you mean by gangster mode?
Um, just because I'm pretty like sensitive and stuff. So like when I get fight news and stuff, like 6 to 8 weeks out from a fight, it just like to me means like being tough, no distractions, like can't be a crybaby over the little things. And yeah, just like hard grinding for however weeks it is. Like when you're in gangster mode, there's, no partying, no, really going out. And it's just straight focus. And no, like, if I do have to cry about something, it's like, okay, I get 5 minutes to be upset and then, back into gangster mode. Like, try as hard as I can to not break that cycle.
Well, it's about that time. We're almost there. We're going to go to our next question, which comes via text from Luisa Morales of Philippine Star. Asha Roka is a very different assignment compared to your last opponent. How do you envision yourself taking her out?
I actually like this matchup better just because I think that I'll be able to show my grappling a lot more going against a boxer. And with Itsuki, it was hard to, she was, I don't want to say more well rounded, but I just see bigger holes in Asha's ground game since uh, just watching her other fights and with Itsuki, it I also love grappling, so going against someone that was also good, and that was a challenge when it did go to the ground. So I feel confident in my ability to be able to hang with the striking and then take it to the ground when I'd like to.
Onward we go to Mr. Tom Taylor from SCMP MMA.
How you doing, Elise?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. As Andrew mentioned, your one championship debut didn't go quite the way you planned. You came up short against Itsuki, but she has since mentioned that she wasn't totally pleased with that win. She thought it could kind of go either way. Does that soften the blow for you at all? Kind of make it easier to swallow, just that it was such a competitive fight?
Not really. A loss is a loss to me. So it's not like no matter how close it was or if she was mad about it, like it doesn't change the, loss on your record. So I'm still like I tried, even though it's been so long ago, to like let it roll off my back. But once I got back to training, and it was good to know like what I do need to work on from that. But yeah, knowing that it was close or whatever doesn't make it any less frustrating that it's still a loss.
Right, understood. Having said all that, you must be very excited for the opportunity to bounce back next weekend, particularly on such a huge card.
Yeah, yep. It's such a big card, and to be featured with the most popular fighters in one, and even a teammate Adriano fighting for the title is going to be really exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Your opponent, Ashiroka, obviously very dangerous, but she hasn't fought in quite some time since 2020, I believe. Do you think that'll be a factor for her? Do you expect some kind of ring rust from her as you get in there?
Um, I'm not sure that like I've watched the last fights, but You know, I haven't like done like much research on like looking at her IG or like what she's doing now. So I guess it's just gonna depend like on how her training camp has been going and like what she's done in her off time. But either way, I don't think that in the amount of time from her last fight to now, she's gonna, you know, have be superior anywhere else than I feel confident in. So um, to me, it doesn't really matter when her last fight was or anything.
Mhm. There are a lot of really good fighters in your weight class on this card. Do you look at this as kind of like a scouting opportunity? You know, you get to see these women in person and kind of, you know, watch their fights. Is this a good opportunity for you to sort of size up the opposition?
Well, I'd probably watch their fights even if it was just like not being there with like because they don't really like let us interact that much with like keeping everyone separate. So I'm hoping that they'll let us watch like the rest of the card since I'm like the first fight uh, at 1, and then I see like it goes pretty late. So that would actually be really cool if I got to like live see the rest of the fights. But I am looking forward to like watching Itsuki fight again and seeing like her fight this time because eventually I'd like that rematch. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, like I know she's not an MMA fighter, but Danielle Kelly, like I'm really looking forward to seeing her grapple. And then, of course, you know, my teammate Adriano fighting, like that will be exciting as well.
Well, I certainly hope they can get you in front of a TV after your fight's over so you can catch some of those. Last one for me. Have you given any thought to what might be next for you after this?
I've just been taking one fight at a time, so uh, I'll see what one wants to do after this. See how Itsuki does. Maybe we could get a rematch if you know she does well. We both do well in that, and obviously looking forward to just seeing how Stamp and Angela, you know, that works out as well. Like that will be a good fight. So whatever one wants, and we'll talk to my management after this. I've just been so focused on this fight, I kind of haven't really looked past it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time and very excited to watch you do your thing next weekend.
Thank you.
In terms of Itsuki, Elise, I'm curious. She is very highly rated. She's undefeated. Like Tom said, you were very competitive against her. Do you see her as a future champion?
I think she's too young to say right now. I do see, especially like when I did let my hands go in the third round, uh, and like because we like had that fight moved, it was going to be in May last year all the way to September. I felt like I spent so much time like focusing on just her and being told like, oh, watch her overhand right, there's so much power in that. And then when I actually got hit by it, it wasn't like as hard as I thought. Like so um I think that, and I know like I dropped in the third round and she said that I didn't, that she slipped, but I think that when she goes against higher level strikers, she's going to run into more problems like in her career. But you know, she's tough and she's good at what she does. She can take people down, and so yeah, I don't know what her future holds, but guess we'll see.
Interesting assessment. Next up is a question from Nedipong of MGR Online, who asks, you recently moved gyms. Where are you training full time and who are your training partners?
At the beginning of the year, I moved to American Top Team. It's like an hour north from where I was. And Kayla Rock has been a big training partner. Jordana Morelos, who is like a huge wrestling. I don't know her like exact wrestling credentials, but she's been helping me with my wrestling. And then like Maria Moroz, UFC fighter. Um, Estella Nunez, UFC fighter. We just have so many girls that I get to mix it up each day. And that was like the main reason for the move, is because there's not one day that I walk in the gym and I don't have a girl, like a high level girl to work with and push me. And even if they're bigger, like I just don't think that you can replicate the competitiveness going with guys at a gym, you know, if they're smaller guys, than having like a bunch of alpha girls in the same room, all like trying to prove themselves like that we're all the best. So I think the move has been really beneficial for me.
Who would you say is your biggest inspiration in MMA? I saw a story mentioning Ronda Rousey. Have you trained with her before?
Yes, I did in 2014 and 2016. So for my last amateur fight and then my pro debut, I got to train with her more like just being on the mats with her, not exactly because I was a lot smaller even back then. But just getting like advice from her about my training and getting to like that was the first time I was around like a UFC fighter, and at the time like she was the champion and just had all the so much attention. So just her giving me like little bits of advice like has still stuck to me this day. And now when I see up and coming fighters, like I just remember like how much her taking even 5 minutes out of a session to talk to me, like I can remember those exact conversations. So like I hope to one day be able to do that to, you know, younger fighters, like if they look up to me, be able to give it back somehow.
Awesome. Nadipong also asked via text, as one of the contenders in the atomweight division, how do you see that main event going between Angela and Stamp?
I think if Angela can get to the ground, then I see her being able to get a submission. She also hasn't fought in some time, so I don't know, you know, like how that layoff will affect her, especially with Stamp being so active recently. And Stamp striking is, I think, a little superior than Angela's. So if Angela can't get it to the ground, then I see Stamp being able to win a decision or even possibly a TKO. But I'm rooting for either girl. I think like they're both great athletes, and they definitely both have earned to be, you know, have this fight. So I think it'll be probably like one of the fight of the nights.
All right, looking forward to that one. And we go now to Dylan Bowker of Sportskeeda. Dylan, you're up.
Hey there, Elise. I appreciate you making some time.
Yep, no problem.
I'm just curious because I saw that Instagram post where you were talking about the Raynaud's syndrome, I believe it was, and you were saying it's like the biggest game changer in your training. I'm just curious, like the specifics of that there, because that sounds huge for sure.
Yeah, so I went to like this place, it's called Gentera, and it's called like regenerative medicine, which is like peptides, uh, stem cell, like all like that type of like the next level medicine types things. And yeah, we started like with just like some creams and like was just like kept going back, like saying what I felt was working, what wasn't working. And they actually put me on like a channel blocker, like that's supposed to like dilate your like blood vessels. And when I started doing that, like probably within like a couple of days, I noticed like a difference in training. Like my toes stopped going white, and I could even walk on the cold floor without them going white. I was like, oh my gosh, because yeah, the time I had it happen in a fight was terrible, and I've always been kind of nervous that it would happen again. So I worked with them before my fight in September, and honestly, after the third round, I felt like I could go, like I was still ready to go, like physically, endurance, and wasn't even thinking about my toes at that point until after the fight. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it didn't happen with the adrenaline and everything. I thought like it could still, but the fact that it didn't was huge. So that's been awesome to not deal with that at all during my fight camp.
Yeah, it seems like there was a lot of relief from that, which is good to hear. But a bit earlier, you were talking about some of the teammates on the card with Adriano Moraes defending his title. Like, is there a certain good vibe in the gym? Just obviously, you guys are doing your own sort of work there and you're motivated on a base level, but does it galvanize the effort even more when you have teammates on the same event?
Yeah, especially the fact that like he gets to bring like the same coaches that like I've been working with since I've been there. So like I got to like bring a teammate, so we're kind of almost going as like a little team together, which makes it not only like brings up the energy in the gym, like it like makes me like more excited. It makes it more fun, and like uh we still like talk to each other like on the mats every day, even though we're obviously like not partners during training. But yeah, just getting to like have someone there that knows what you're going through, knows about the time travel, especially because he's been in one for so long. So yeah, the energy I feel like has been really good at the gym.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the insights. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dylan. Next, we're going to go for one more question from Tom Taylor of SCMP MMA.
Yeah, it's me again. Sorry, everyone. I meant to ask you this before, but I forgot. The first time I spoke to you, you were working in the medical profession. I can't remember exactly what the job title was. I apologize for that, but it certainly sounded interesting and admirable. Are you still doing that as you prepare for fights these days?
Nope. Actually, I was working as like EMT on the COVID unit and what was cardiology before COVID. And then in last year of March is when I quit and moved to Florida. And since then, I've just been training full time.
Was it difficult to switch between those two things, let one go to focus on the other?
No way. I was so happy to not work at the hospital anymore that it's just been like living out my dream now and not having the stress of staying up all night, 12-hour shifts, and then trying to figure out what days I can get off, especially with every hospital being so short staffed right now. Like, I think it would have been impossible to even get the time off to fight and train. So yeah, it's been a huge stress like off my plate. And I definitely feel like since I quit and have been focusing on training, I've developed so much as a fighter.
So it's safe to say we'll see the best version of you we've ever seen this or next weekend?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
All right, Tom, thank you for that. And thank you, Elise, for joining us. Best of luck and good luck with the journey over.
Thank you.